The military operation carried out by the United States and Israel was not a small or limited strike. It was a highly coordinated and carefully planned campaign that involved advanced military technology, intelligence gathering, and strategic targeting across multiple locations inside Iran. Military analysts say that such operations usually take months of preparation, involving surveillance satellites, cyber intelligence, and reconnaissance missions designed to map out key military facilities. The goal of this operation was to strike some of Iran's most sensitive military infrastructure, including missile bases, weapons storage facilities, and command centers believed to be connected to Iran's long-range missile programs. Reports indicate that fighter jets, long-range bombers, cruise missiles, and drones were all part of the operation. Many of the strikes were launched simultaneously in order to overwhelm Iran's air defense systems. When attacks occur at the same time across different cities, it becomes much harder for the defending country to intercept incoming missiles or aircraft. This type of strategy is often used in modern warfare to create confusion within the enemy's command structure and to disable critical communication networks. Several explosions were reported in and around major Iranian cities, including areas close to important military compounds. Witnesses described hearing multiple blasts within minutes of each other, suggesting that numerous targets were being hit almost at the same time. Satellite images later revealed damage to several strategic sites that had long been monitored by international intelligence agencies. These locations were believed to play an important role in Iran's missile development and military coordination. Another important aspect of this operation was the level of cooperation between the United States and Israel. Military coordination between these two countries has existed for many years, but operations of this scale require extremely close communication between defense departments, intelligence agencies, and military commanders. Joint planning likely involved shared intelligence reports, satellite data, and real-time battlefield monitoring to ensure that the strikes were precise and effective. Advanced aircraft, such as stealth fighters, were reportedly used during the operation. These aircraft are designed to avoid detection by radar systems, allowing them to enter hostile airspace without being easily detected. This technology significantly increases the chances of successfully striking high-value targets before the defending country can react. In addition to air power, cyber warfare may also have played a role in the operation. Modern military campaigns often include cyber attacks designed to disrupt communication systems, radar networks, and military databases. By temporarily disabling these systems, attacking forces can reduce the effectiveness of air defense systems and create gaps in surveillance coverage. The speed of the operation surprised many international observers. In a very short period of time, a large number of military facilities were targeted, which suggests that intelligence about these locations had already been gathered long before the strikes began. Such intelligence usually comes from a combination of satellite surveillance, electronic monitoring, and human intelligence sources operating on the ground. For Israel, the operation was seen as a strategic move to limit Iran's ability to develop long-range weapons that could threaten Israeli territory. Israeli officials have repeatedly expressed concern about Iran's growing missile capabilities, viewing them as a direct national security threat. From the perspective of the United States, the strikes were presented as part of a broader effort to reduce regional instability and prevent the spread of advanced weapon systems that could potentially escalate conflicts in the Middle East. The scale and complexity of the operation show how modern warfare has evolved. Military campaigns today rely not only on firepower, but also on intelligence dominance, technological superiority, and coordinated multinational strategies. Every phase of the operation, from target selection to strike execution, was likely monitored in real time by military command centers using advanced surveillance technology and battlefield communication systems. Iran's response to the strikes came very quickly, showing that the country had already prepared defensive and retaliatory strategies in case such an attack ever happened. Within hours of the first explosions being reported inside Iran, military officials in Tehran announced that their armed forces had begun a series of retaliatory operations aimed at targets connected to Israel and the United States. This response was designed not only to demonstrate Iran's military capability, but also to send a strong political message that the country would not allow such strikes to go unanswered. Iran's military strategy relies heavily on missile technology and drone warfare, both of which have become central parts of its defense doctrine over the past decade. Shortly after the strikes, multiple missiles were reportedly launched toward Israeli territory and toward areas in the region where American forces are stationed. These missiles were accompanied by unmanned aerial vehicles, commonly known as drones, which can travel long distances and are capable of carrying explosive payloads. By using both missiles and drones at the same time, Iran aimed to create a more complex attack that would challenge the defense systems designed to intercept incoming threats. Missile launches were reported from several locations inside Iran, indicating that the country used multiple launch sites rather than relying on a single base. This approach makes it more difficult for opposing forces to eliminate Iran's missile capabilities with a single strike. Iran has spent years developing underground missile facilities and mobile launch platforms that allow weapons to be deployed quickly and from different regions of the country. These systems are designed specifically to survive large-scale attacks and maintain the ability to respond even after military installations have been targeted. At the same time, Iranian officials began issuing strong statements through state media and government channels, emphasizing that the country had the right to defend itself against what it described as foreign aggression. Iranian military commanders declared that the retaliation would not be limited to a single response and warned that further actions could follow if attacks continued. Such statements are often used during conflicts to show strength and maintain domestic support, especially during moments of national crisis. The missile and drone attacks also created immediate tension across the wider Middle East. Neighboring countries began monitoring their airspace more closely, and several governments raised their military alert levels. Defense systems in Israel were activated to intercept incoming threats, while U.S. military bases in the region increased security and prepared for potential additional attacks. The rapid escalation highlighted how quickly a conflict between a few countries can affect the security environment of an entire region. Iran's reliance on drone technology is particularly significant because drones allow the military to conduct attacks without risking the lives of pilots. These unmanned systems can fly at low altitudes, making them harder for radar systems to detect. Over the past several years, Iran has invested heavily in developing and improving these technologies, turning drones into an important part of its military strategy. Some of these drones are capable of traveling hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, which allows them to reach targets far beyond Iran's borders. Another factor that increased tensions was the possibility that Iran's regional allies and affiliated groups could become involved. Iran maintains relationships with several armed groups across the Middle East, and during times of conflict, these groups can sometimes launch their own attacks in support of Iran's position. This creates the risk that a localized confrontation could quickly expand into multiple battlefronts across different countries. Inside Iran, the government also took steps to strengthen internal security and prepare the population for potential escalation. Military units were placed on high alert, and additional defenses were deployed around important infrastructure such as energy facilities, communication centers, and transportation networks. The leadership in Tehran wanted to ensure that critical national systems would remain operational, even if further attacks occurred. The retaliation demonstrated that Iran still maintained the ability to respond militarily, despite the scale of the initial strikes. By launching missiles and drones toward its adversaries, Iran signaled that the conflict was far from over and that the situation in the region could continue to escalate depending on how each side chooses to act in the coming days. The speed, scale, and coordination of the response revealed how prepared Iran had been for a scenario involving direct confrontation with powerful military forces. One of the most dramatic developments in the conflict was the sudden death of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, a figure who had dominated Iran's political and military decision-making for decades. For more than 30 years, he served as the highest authority in the country, overseeing the armed forces, influencing foreign policy, and shaping Iran's strategy toward the United States and Israel. His leadership defined the direction of Iran's regional alliances, military expansion, and nuclear ambitions. Because of this powerful role, Any event affecting the supreme leader instantly carries enormous consequences for the country's political stability. Reports from multiple sources indicated that during the early phase of the coordinated airstrikes, a high-level command location in Tehran was struck. Intelligence analysts believe that this location was connected to senior leadership meetings and strategic military planning. Shortly after the attack, information began circulating that the strike had critically injured the supreme leader. Within a short period of time, Iranian media outlets and international observers confirmed that he had died as a result of the attack. The announcement shocked not only Iran, but also governments around the world, because the death of such a powerful political figure during an active military conflict is extremely rare. Inside Iran, the news triggered a wave of political and military uncertainty. The supreme leader holds a unique position in the Iranian political system, standing above the president, parliament, and judiciary. He has the final authority on major national decisions, especially those related to military operations, foreign relations, and national security. When such a leader suddenly dies during a crisis, it creates immediate questions about who will take control and how decisions will be made during a rapidly escalating conflict. Security forces across Iran were quickly mobilized to maintain order and prevent instability. Government institutions began emergency meetings to determine the next steps in leadership transition. In Iran's political structure, the Assembly of Experts is responsible for selecting the supreme leader, but during times of crisis, the process can become extremely sensitive and politically complex. Various influential figures within the government, religious institutions, and military leadership suddenly became key players in shaping the future direction of the country. Attention quickly turned toward Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late supreme leader. For years, he had been viewed by some analysts as a potential successor due to his strong connections within Iran's powerful security and religious networks. Although he had mostly remained behind the scenes in official politics, his influence within certain circles had been widely discussed among political observers. The sudden loss of his father immediately placed him at the center of speculation regarding the future leadership of the country. The death of such a prominent leader also had major psychological and symbolic effects on the nation. Supporters of the government viewed the event as a national tragedy and a direct attack on Iran's sovereignty. State media broadcast images of mourning gatherings, speeches from senior officials, and calls for unity among the population. At the same time, military commanders emphasized that the country would continue its defense efforts and that the leadership structure of Iran would remain intact despite the shock. International reactions came quickly as well. Governments across the world began closely monitoring the situation, recognizing that leadership transitions during wartime can dramatically alter the direction of a conflict. Some analysts suggested that the sudden change could either escalate tensions further or create unexpected diplomatic openings, depending on how the new leadership decided to respond. Within Iran's military establishment, commanders moved rapidly to demonstrate stability and continuity. Senior officials reassured the public that operational command structures were still functioning and that the armed forces remained fully capable of responding to threats. This was particularly important during an ongoing conflict, where any sign of weakness or confusion could potentially be exploited by opposing forces. The situation also highlighted how central the role of the supreme leader is within Iran's governing system. Unlike many political systems where power is divided among multiple institutions, the supreme leader holds authority over the armed forces, intelligence services, and major strategic decisions. The sudden removal of that figure during a moment of war created a historic turning point, not only for Iran's internal politics, but also for the entire geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Political analysts began debating how the next leadership structure might shape Iran's future policies. Some believed a new leader might adopt a more aggressive approach in response to the attack, while others speculated that internal political considerations could influence strategic decisions moving forward. The uncertainty surrounding leadership succession added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation, as military operations and political restructuring were unfolding at the same time. Another major aspect that drew global attention was the incredible speed and intensity of the air campaign carried out during the first days of the conflict. Military analysts and defense experts began comparing the operation with some of the largest aerial campaigns conducted in modern warfare, and many were surprised by how quickly such a large number of targets were struck within such a short period of time. According to various defense observers, the rate of strikes was unusually high, suggesting that the operation had been carefully planned long before it was executed. Modern air campaigns rely heavily on preparation, intelligence gathering, and technological coordination. Before any missile or aircraft is deployed, military planners usually spend months identifying potential targets and analyzing their strategic importance. This process involves the use of reconnaissance satellites, electronic surveillance systems, and intelligence reports that help determine which facilities play the most critical role in an enemy's military capabilities. By the time the operation began, many of the targeted locations had likely already been mapped in detail, allowing the attacking forces to strike with precision and speed. Reports suggested that dozens of aircraft were involved in the operation, including advanced fighter jets and long-range bombers capable of carrying precision-guided munitions. These aircraft are designed to strike targets from significant distances while minimizing the risk to pilots and equipment. Many of the weapons used in such campaigns are guided by satellite navigation systems and advanced sensors, allowing them to hit specific buildings or underground facilities with remarkable accuracy. Another factor that contributed to the rapid pace of the campaign was the use of multiple attack platforms at the same time. Instead of relying only on aircraft, the operation likely included cruise missiles launched from naval vessels and possibly even submarines positioned in nearby waters. Cruise missiles can travel long distances at low altitude,